Good evening, and welcome to the 2014 Connersville Chamber of Commerce Annual Dinner Banquet. I am so pleased that you are all here tonight. First, I'd like to thank Duke Energy and Kathy Winning for being our corporate sponsor for this evening. Let's give them a round of applause. Next, I would like to thank Franklin County National Bank for being the speaker sponsor. Thank you. Heritage House Rehabilitation and Healthcare Center, thank you for being the Citizen of the Year sponsor. Whitewater Valley Rehabilitation, thank you for being the Small Business of the Year sponsor. Where are you at? Special thanks goes out to Shirley Risch with American Heritage Realty, and she's back getting people registered. She is a Humanitarian and Service Award sponsor. Thank you, Shirley. Special thanks to Union Savings and Loan for being the beautification sponsor. Thank you. I also want to thank Fayette Regional Health System and Bridgeford Farmstead Cheese for donating the appetizers this evening. Very good, thank you. Also, I'd like to thank Hassler Textile Services for donating the linens and Fayette Regional Health System for helping me with the decorations. Before we begin, I'm going to introduce you to the 2004 Board of Directors. If you will please stand and everybody remain standing, then we'll applaud you after we're finished. Last year our president was John Reynolds. He's with Calvary Baptist Church. He was not able to attend tonight. Next we have Ryan Baker with A Neatly Trimmed Landscape. Please stand, Ryan. He won't, there, stand up. Next we have Sue Barth with St. Gabriel Catholic School. There she is. You can remain standing. Chris Bowling, he was unable to attend this evening. Jeremiah Church will be here. He's out of town, but he'll be here before the meeting's over with. Lori Crow with Foles Floor Covering. Krista Gibson, Heritage House Rehabilitation and Healthcare Center. Amy Hammonds, Union Savings and Loan Association. Ben Harvey, Money Concepts. Melissa Matney, U.S. Bank. There she is. And Donna Stern, Whitewater Valley Rehab. Thank you. Before we get started, I want to tell you about the silent auction that's in the back of the room. The silent auction will be opened until after everybody's done eating, and then I will give you a 5-minute 5 minutes to get your bids in. A 5-minute time limit, that's what it is. 5 minutes after that time, you will put your pins down. At the end of the annual dinner banquet, please collect your winnings, and then you'll go out before you pick up your coats, and there will be a table there with 3 of my lovely assistants that will be there to collect the money. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce the mayor to come up and give us an invocation. Thank you, sir.
Wait a minute. Everybody's been introduced and told all the great things they do. I work with her every day, and she's worked on this, worried herself sick. 2 weeks ago, she had 40 reservations. She said, I only have 40. I said, don't worry, you'll have 200. Today, they were down there trying to get reservations, and she had to tell people that we didn't have any more room.
Yep.
So let's give our director a hand. If you want to just remain seated and let us pray together. Our Father, as we come to you tonight, we come to you so humble that you would allow us to gather together as professionals and business people and just regular people, and Lord, even politicians, to let us to talk together and enjoy each other. Remember that this is our community. We love it. This is where we live and work and play. And Lord, no matter what they say from outside these walls, we think it's a great place. Lord, we thank you for the food tonight. We thank you for those people who have grown the food, brought it in, those people who had to prepare it, and those people that will deliver it to us. But especially we thank you tonight because you are the foundation of everything. So Lord, as we meet tonight, we thank you for being with us, and we hope that everything that is done and said is done and said to your glory. For we ask it in your name. Amen.
Hello, everyone. If you've had an opportunity to read in the program the bio of our guest speaker tonight, I will tell you I have spent the last couple of hours with this gentleman, and it doesn't do justice. It doesn't do justice to the level of enthusiasm you feel when talking with Craig. It doesn't do justice to the level of engagement when you're speaking one-on-one. And when you read that bio, you think, wow, what a life of experience. But after talking to him, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, what we're reading. What I'd like you to do, everybody, is kind of strap in and get prepared to be entertained for the next few minutes. And let's put our hands together and give Mr. Craig McFarland a warm Connersville welcome.
Thank you. What a good-looking crowd. This is nice. Thank you, Tom, for the kind words. Thank you to FCN Bank. I've had the most enjoyable time this evening and met so many of you, and I'm honored to be here. What I thought I'd do before we get started, my life seems to be chock full of humor. Just last Sunday, our 8-year-old daughter Morgan came out of the basement with a picture in her hand. And she came over to my wife and she said, "Mommy, I have a question for you. Who's this woman in this picture with Daddy?" My wife looked at it and she said, "Honey, that's not a woman. That's Steven Tyler from Aerosmith." A few years ago, I had the wonderful opportunity of flying into Austin, Texas to play a little golf with Willie Nelson. Not a big Willie fan, but I thought it would be working for the day, so I went anyways. At the end of the day, a local newspaper reporter came over to me and he said, "Son, did you have an advantage today over Mr. Nelson?" I said, "The only immediate advantage I could think of is that I didn't have to look at Willie all day." I also had an interesting thing happen back in December. I was on a flight coming back from Singapore. A lady got on the plane, sat beside me, and proceeded to tell me about all of her problems. Over the years, I've tried to envision myself as a relatively patient, understanding individual. But after about 15 to 20 minutes of this persistent negativity, this lady finally leaned over and she said, "Sir, I never asked when I got on board, what do you really do for a living?" I never hesitated. I said, "Ma'am, I've done the same thing for 10 years. I sell life insurance." I never heard another word from that lady the rest of the flight. Okay, who's the agent in here? I will give you just a brief synopsis. I lost my eyesight at the age of 2.5, kind of through a freak accident. It was a small device used for lighting a welding torch, which is called a striker. And these kids were throwing it around the backyard and accidentally hit the inside of my left eye. Within 6 weeks, I developed a rare eye disease known as sympathetic ophthalmia, which is merely where one eye goes in sympathy with the other. Of course, today they can prevent it, but they can't really cure it. And when I look back on that time period, yes, I can attribute so much of my success to my parents, who were always such great pillars of strength to me. Supportive, encouraging, but yet they never pushed me when it came to my athletics. I grew up on a small farm just outside of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And you think it was cold here this morning? Try Sault Ste. Marie along Lake Superior. Now that is cold. And I remember snowshoeing on the trap line with my father, working in the hay fields in the summer, canoeing, fishing, and camping. I was never excluded, but rather included. And because of that can-do type spirit that was ingrained in me at such a young age, it provided an awesome foundation. I quickly learned that blindness would never stand in the way of my leading and living a normal life. But my world came to an abrupt halt at the age of 6. I was required in those days to attend the only school for the blind in the country. It just happened to be 500 miles from home. So I got home 3 times a year: Christmas, spring break, summer holidays. Kind of funny, my first day at that school. Honestly, I had never met a blind person in my life. So here I was walking down the middle of the hall, and this kid ran into me, and I said, "Hey, watch where you're going." Little did I realize there were over 300 of us in the same boat. Great facility, world of opportunity. And I am a great believer, regardless of stage or age. I think periodically we all come to various crossroads. And the decisions we make at those crossroads can have an enormous impact on who we become tomorrow and onward. Looking back, I think my first crossroads was at the age of 7. I remember sitting in a cold locker room one day after phys ed class feeling a little down. The phys ed teacher came in and sat on the bench beside me, and he said, "Son, I've come to realize you don't really like it here." And I said, "Sir, I'm awfully glad you finally noticed." Well, that was the day he introduced me to the sport of wrestling. Of course, growing up in Northern Ontario, I would have much rather been a professional hockey player. That was not in the cards. Although I had a funny thing happen last week. I was changing airplanes at O'Hare Field in Chicago. Gentleman noticed I was blind, and he excitedly came over and tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, "Thank God, son, you're finally in town. You must be the new goalie for the Chicago Blackhawks hockey team." I said, "Not really. I was just in town to try out for that quarterback position. I can throw that many interceptions for half the price." I won't bore you with detail, but I wrestled for 11 years. I was privileged as a teenager to wrestle internationally on behalf of our country. And it was a great thrill, and it was a great privilege. But it never became a question of winning and losing. I simply learned early on a profound lesson that stuck with me today, that you're only as good as your last performance. And so many people rest on their laurels or accomplishments of yesterday, and good, bad, or indifferent, no matter what happened, we can't change it. So I've always been the type of person to live for the moment. Because when you do, you're not so worried about yesterday or tomorrow, but rather you're in the moment because you can engage and you can be with people. And I think when I noticed I just said to Tom, matter of fact, the energy in this room is terrific. And I think that's a great testament. And to have over 200 people at the chamber dinner, I think speaks volumes to not only where Connorsville's going, but this is a driving force. This is the pulse here today and tonight of what's going to happen in the future. And we can always pinpoint, no matter what town or city in America or Canada, or whatever the case might be, we all have our strengths and they all have their weaknesses. I think collectively we overcome some of the pitfalls. And it's not good to dwell on the negative. I could have used blindness in my life so many times as an excuse to hang my hat on that peg as to why I didn't accomplish or achieve. I refused to then, and I refuse to now. And I think we all have so much to be thankful for and so much to be proud of. And when you can see change, and we all have the wonderful ability to affect change if we choose to. And so much of what I'm mentioning tonight, I simply think comes down to choice. And when I think of choice, it's a question of what we eat or what we don't eat, or whatever the case might be. Do we exercise or not, or where we work, where we choose to live? And I think Indiana, first and foremost, is a great place to live. I choose to live in this state, and with my career, I could live anywhere. And I think there's so much that we all can do to make our communities just a little better. So on the way home tonight, I ask us all to reflect, what can we do? A little more. Maybe it's volunteer time, get involved, get engaged, get entrenched a little more. Maybe it's with our youth or whatever the case might be. But there's always a place, and there's always time, if we make it, to make our communities a little stronger and just a nicer place for all of us. And that's what's so important. It benefits all. I look back in my career and I realize that so many people have been instrumental. There's been so many unsung heroes that have touched my life. Parents, grandparents, coaches. So many people that believed in me. Even on those days when maybe growing up I didn't necessarily believe in myself, they always instilled that profound belief in me. And that's what I try to get through to all the young people I speak to. There's one thing no one can ever take from you, is a profound belief that you have in yourself. Now, as I said earlier, life has been chock full of humor, and realizing this is a chamber event, we don't want to be too serious tonight, do we? I mean, heck, I sat with Tom and Billy. Does it get any? I mean, you talk about a laugh a minute. Maybe I just should have brought them up here. We could have had the, well, no, we got to hit the edit button if I did that. We can't do that. So, as I stand here this evening and look at some of the funniest things that have happened to me, I remember as a 16-year-old traveling to a communist country to compete for the first time. Our coaches were incredibly strict and paranoid of potential bugging devices being in the room. This, of course, was when the Cold War was very much still in progress. Being the pesky 16-year-old kid I trip over an odd-looking shaped thing sticking up out of the carpet, was convinced I'd found the bugging device, took out a Canadian dime, proceeded to unscrew these little screws out of the metal box on the floor as my roommate got on the phone to call my coach. To my dismay, just as I took the last little screw out of that metal box on the floor, I had the chandelier fall down downstairs. That wasn't the worst part of it. I had a German couple on their honeymoon in the room below me that were not so impressed. I also had to room with my coach for the next 3 trips to Europe. Now that was a drag. When I started snow skiing, I had just moved to the United States from Canada as a 19-year-old to live with Gordie Howe, the former hockey great, and his wife Colleen in Glastonbury, Connecticut. And I had a great passion to learn how to snow ski. I can only hope, for those of you that have been, your first day on the slope was a lot more successful than mine. Because here I was sliding through a chairlift line. I had no idea what a chairlift even looked like. My guide skier Clifford said to me, I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. You reach out your hand, sit on the chair, and I will be right beside you. Easy enough. I get the countdown, bail off that chair. To my dismay, I'm 4 or 5 feet off the snow, up at the top of the mountain. And I'm lying there in a sense of agony and a sense of kind of bewilderment, to be honest with you. And I said to Clifford, do people really enjoy this sport? Well, that day at the top of the mountain, I had a decision to make. It would have been so easy to quit. It would have been so easy to give up, throw the towel in the ring, and simply walk away. But I chose the latter, and I, out of fluke and frustration, devised a way that most blind people snow ski today. Because I said to Clifford, why don't you ski in front of me instead of behind me? Well, that's not exactly the way I told him, but trust me, he understood what I meant. I found with him in front of me, and it enabled me to hear the tails of his skis on the snow when the crosswinds of the mountain absorbed his voice. 3 months later in Alta, Utah, Cliff and I won a blind national snow skiing championship coming through a speed gun at over 50 miles an hour downhill. Something Gordie Howe said was a combination of guts and stupidity. The other experience I had when it pertains to sports, many years ago I became the first totally blind person water ski jumping in the shows at Cypress Gardens, Florida. The first day I ever jumped, I remember CBS Morning News, PM Magazine, and a show called That's Incredible that all came out of New York to film me. Apparently no blind person had ski jumped before. And I was fortunate enough to land and ski out of 3 of my first 4 jumps, although the one I missed was not very pretty. When I came back to the dry dock, I'll never forget the gentleman from CBS. He came running over to me and he said, that was amazing. Despite the odds, you did it. What was your secret? And I said to him candidly, if no blind person had ever ski jumped before, then who set the odds? And I ask you in this room here tonight, do people ever try to set the odds for you? Whether it's your business or whatever the case might be. Have any of you ever heard that, well, that business will never make it here? If you listen to the naysayers and you listen to the people who are doubting you, you probably don't have to look very far. But yet, when you're passionate about something and when you believe in it, it's amazing what can be accomplished. And there's so many wonderful examples in this room tonight of people that have succeeded under what some would perceive to be adverse conditions. And I think although the makeup with the manufacturing somewhat diminished here, there's always so much more. We find a way to recreate, to reinvent ourselves, to find what endears people to want to work, open businesses, and live here. And I think the answer is simple. I think it becomes the people. I think it's about you. When you give people a reason to want to invest and to want to grow and to want to be a part of a community, I think that's all anyone is looking for. That's a winning combination. And towns that find themselves on the cutting edge of providing opportunity, I think those are the ones that succeed the most. And I've heard some wonderful things about the rebound here in Connersville from Carol and others here at FCN Bank, and I admire you. And I think it's not a reason to really cause and pause for reflection, but yet to continue on that path. And I think everyone can contribute. As I said earlier, with that collaborative effort, it's unbelievable to what can be achieved. And I think you're all a testament of that. There's been a lot of neat highlights in my life. A year ago, the book on my life was released. I was fortunate when former President Bush 41 wrote the foreword, and I'm certainly grateful of that friendship. I've cherished the numerous times I've been to the Oval Office when he was president. That's a far cry from a small town of 400 people where I grew up in Northern Ontario. I never would have dreamed or envisioned or imagined the storybook career that I've had. I've had the wonderful pleasure of speaking in 41 countries. I've spoken at 3 GOP conventions, which has been a great highlight. A friend of mine asked me, well, why have I never spoke at a Democrat convention? I said, quite frankly, they've never invited me. But I look at all the times when it would have been so easy to walk away. And I think that the ability to persevere through the low moments, to have a great respect for those that have challenged and pushed me and raised the bar. And I think if we all can raise the bar in our own lives, to continue to be our own individuals, to have desire, heart, and passion. And I've always thought that desire isn't something they sell in a bottle or can, but rather desire is measured by the size of a person's heart. How badly you want to accomplish and how badly you want to achieve, there should be a direct link or correlation as to how hard you're willing to work to get there. And I think enthusiasm is the zest, the spirit, and the smile that you put on your face each and every day. And I remember in 1984 when former President Reagan invited me to carry the Olympic torch through Washington, D.C. on its way to the Los Angeles Olympics. That day I came up with this analogy, that inside every one of us we have a small little torch. And how high you light the flame on the torch inside you can only be reflected by the smile that you put on your face as you walk through life each and every day. So I think we all have that choice to make. We wake up in the morning and we put that game face on, irregardless of the challenges or the pressures that we're going to face on that particular day, but at least it programs us into that positive mental frame of mind so we can show up and try. And no one should ever criticize someone else for putting their best foot forward. And in lieu of time, I'm not going to be overly long-winded here tonight, but I do want to thank FCN Bank for the wonderful hospitality, the wonderful invitation to come over here. It's been wonderful dealing with Carol and Tom leading up to this event, certainly Katrina at the Chamber. If you would have told me several months ago when we started this process that there'd be over 200 people at the annual Connersville Chamber event, I never would have believed that. And I think it's a great testament to all of you. And I encourage you all to certainly stay involved, because with your participation and your support, it's unbelievable from year to year what can be accomplished. I'll be around afterwards. I know there's going to be some wonderful awards. We don't know who they are yet, but in advance, my personal congratulations to the upcoming award winners, because there are some very deserved awards and some wonderful recipients in this room, and I'm always honored to be a part of chamber events. But in closing, I want to leave you with a thought. I would trade the over 100 gold medals that I've been incredibly blessed and incredibly privileged to have won in my life to have the same opportunities that you do. To be able to have my eyesight. To be able to see how beautiful the colors must be in a rainbow. To be able to see what my parents' faces look like, something I honestly don't remember. Or the simple things that perhaps you take for granted. And that's even what trees look like. But despite on those days when, yes, I can get feeling just a little down, those are the days I realize there are so many people in this world a lot less fortunate than I. So regardless of what stage or what age we may be at, I think we all have a continued responsibility to want to reach out, to want to help, and to want to make a difference in the lives of those who haven't been as blessed or fortunate as you and I have been along life's highway. So again, to FCN Bank, I'm honored for the opportunity to be here this evening. I look forward to meeting many of you once the program has ended. And once again, congratulations to the upcoming award winners. I wish you all the utmost success in the upcoming year. God bless and good luck, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. That was wonderful. And thank you, FCN Bank, for sponsoring him. Great encouragement. Kind of gives you a different perspective on life, doesn't it? At this time, we'll begin the awards portion of the ceremony. And I would like to introduce you to Amy Hammonds. She will be presenting the Beautification Award, and it is sponsored by Union Savings and Loan. Here you go. Thank you. Whoops. Thank you. The beautification. Oh. I am so sorry. Craig is going to be selling his books afterwards, so just meet him over here on the corner if you don't mind. Here's Amy.
Thank you. The Beautification Award nominees are Becky's Place, Buster's Steakhouse, Hardee's, Wolf's Gun Shop, and Yamato House of Steak. The winner of the Beautification Award this evening goes to a lady who has been in business in Connersville for 16 years. Her husband is Dexter Jones of 30 years. She has 3 children, Mandy, Randy, and Derek. She has 3 grandchildren. We'd like to congratulate Becky Jones of Becky's Place.
So cool. Cute. Thank you.
Congratulations. Next, I would like to introduce Shirley Risch with American Heritage Real Estate, who will be giving the Humanitarian Service Award away.
Good evening, and thank you all for attending, and thank you, Craig. My goodness, if you don't feel good now, you never will. The Humanitarian Ward and the Service Ward were combined a couple years ago. This award exemplifies caring and giving to the community. The nominees are, and please stand when I read your name, Jean Brown, Community Sharing, House of Ruth, thank you, Sherry Kendall, and Audra McGuire. Thank you. You are all deserving of this award, but we only have one trophy. Sorry. The winner has directly impacted the community through her involved with Indy Honor Flight, a nonprofit organization created solely to honor Indiana's veterans for all their sacrifices. Honor Flight transports veterans at no cost to Washington, D.C. to visit their memorial. She has volunteered since 2012 when she was selected to be a guardian for a veteran. Since then, she has volunteered for each flight as part of the ground crew in Indianapolis to assist veterans the day of their flight, starting at 4 a.m., providing breakfast for the veterans and guardian before departing for Washington. She is there to welcome them for their homecoming, sometimes after 8 p.m., and we gripe about long days, and she is donating this time. Then she stays to clean up until midnight. Her mission to raise awareness in Fayette County about the Indy Honor Flight and to get local veterans to complete an application to take the trip. She reached her goal to have 5 World War II veterans from Fayette County make the honor flight in 2014. It is my privilege to present the Humanitarian Service Award to Sherry Kendall. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
I would like to say something. First, I want to thank you, Shirley. You've done this for many, many years, gave this award out, and what an honor. I mean, I am so humbled at this. I don't know who nominated me, but I am just overwhelmed. And I just want to say this. 70 years ago, these World War II veterans were fighting for you, for me, and for our country. And what they did for us is just unbelievable. And when I went out to be a guardian in 2013, to hear each one of their stories, I mean, I still get choked up today just to think what they did for us. So what an honor this is, and I will continue to volunteer within the Honor Flight because it is a day that these veterans will always remember, and I'm just glad that I could be a part of it. So thank you very, very much.
Take anyone you want.
Thank you.
Oh, here. Next, we will have somebody that's going to present the Small Business of the Year Award. I'm sorry, I don't know who's presenting that. Whoever it is. Oh, hi, Dave Jones.
Good evening. And thank you for that rousing introduction. I have the privilege tonight to give the Small Business of the Year Award. And we have 5 nominees: the Bridgeford Farmstead Cheese, H&E Machine, Ryan Lynch, Maggie Steiner, Matt Parsley, and St. Clair EMS Service, which makes it 6 instead of 5. I'm an accountant, so I can count real well. I would like to share just real quick, though, before I announce the winner, that I don't know how many clients I've ever had that have come to me and say, how do you do what you do? How do you deal with numbers all day long? And I tell them it's a lot more than that in our profession. And those of us that have done it, with Jeremiah or even Mark, who hired me in this position. We get an opportunity to live people's dreams in this entrepreneurialism. People that put everything out there on the line to live what they truly want. And they sacrifice tremendously to do this. 65% of the jobs since 1995 have been created by small businesses. They are the heart of our community and every community around. You know, and we all look and we worry about the large employers. It's the entrepreneur that's going to drive communities in the future. Tonight, winner is one who's been in business not a long period of time, about 15 years, but yet one that has roots here that extend back to the time when this community was settled, way back to 1819. They're still performing their entrepreneurial business on that very same farmstead that their ancestors settled back in 1819. They have, in 2012, they started this business. They've had many businesses over the years, but in 2012, they started a recent business of making cheese. And they worked very long and hard. And I've had the privilege of experiencing that dream with them and watching them go through all the challenges. You know, cheese making isn't something that you go to school and just learn how to do. It isn't something that you get that opportunity. So they've had to apply themselves and learn and trial and error, as we all do in business. And in 2014 and 2015, they were recognized for the National Good Food Awards for their cheeses. And you had the opportunity, I hope that those you had the opportunity to taste some of it here tonight. So the winner we have this year for the 2014 Small Business of the Year Award is Leslie Jacobs and Matthew Bridford.
Well, thank you very much. We're very honored. We really enjoy being a part of the community. I had contacted Katrina because we really wanted to share the cheese with people who have spoken about it or asked us about it, and there really wasn't a venue where we could do that. And we're just thrilled to be able to share this in the community, and we thank all of you for your support.
Represent the award for Citizen of the Year, Kristen Gibbs.
Good evening. On behalf of the Heritage House, I'm here to present the Citizen of the Year Award. The nominees are Barton Baker, Ken Fuller, Sam Harvey, Charlie Hughes, and Dr. Andrew Yardian. This 91-year-old nominee has lived in this community for nearly half of his life. Born in 1923, he attended Harrisburg High School. He enrolled at Penn State and enlisted in the military when World War II broke out. He stayed there until the war ended. His family was involved in every war there has been in the U.S. His father fought in World War I, and 4 of his brothers fought in World War II with him. He served as a gunner instructor and was part of the crew of the B-25s with a 480th Anti-Submarine Squadron. After he returned from the war, he worked at Stantz for 61 years. For the past 30 years, he has served as a sanitary engineer for Mousie's Restaurant. As a World War II veteran, he has been very active in veterans programs. He takes care of all the veterans' graves in the city cemetery and now has his own bench in the Circle of Honor. He can often be found in the Fayette County Historical Museum, where he regularly volunteers as a member of Historic Connorsville. I would like to present the 2015 Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year Award to Charlie Hughes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, you're welcome.
And you all thought I was just another pretty face. But really, there's two people that helped me be here tonight. Donna Schroeder, Sherry Kendall. Let's come up here and help me with this. Without these two, I'd probably be sitting back there someplace. Thank each and every one of you for this beautiful trophy, and you too also.
Well, thank you for everything you do and have done.
As soon as it warms up, come over and try out my seat in City Cemetery. You don't have to make reservations, it's still there.
And Charlie, Joel Long took care of fixing your bench.
Thank you so much.
Everybody that was nominated is still a winner in my eyes, so congratulations to all the nominees. And congratulations to all of our winners. Again, thank you to my corporate sponsor, Duke Energy, sorry, I'm tired. Thank you, FCM Bank, for the speaker sponsor, and thank you for all of our other award sponsors. We're going to call this an evening, but before I do, I want all of the winners to meet over here so that we could get a picture for the newspaper. Have a safe and happy evening. Thank you.